CW Conspiracy Shack.
Welcome back.
I am Daniel.
And I am Wilbur.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, I know.
This week's episode, we're going to start covering fluoride in the water.
Fluoride. Is it good for you? Is it good for your teeth?
I thought you were going to start doing the Charlie Manson thing.
Are you mad? Do you feel lame? Is fluoride good for your soul?
I
think he had fluoride.
Yeah, so we're still working out kind of how we want the show to flow and everything like that. Me and Wilbur.
Wilbur.
Like the pig.
Yes, from Charlotte's Web.
Mm-hmm. Some pig. But no, so fluoride in the water is kind of a really weird one. Because there's most other first world nations in the planet have abandoned this besides the U.S.
Have a ban. Is that what you said?
Abandoned this.
Oh, abandoned. Okay.
Like, they don't do this anymore. A lot of them did in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of European countries and stuff did it, and then they kind of backed off of it for reasons we'll talk about later. But are you ready?
I was born ready.
First thing we're going to do is literally just read the CDC's article about fluoride in the water.
So this is the official narrative.
Yeah. And I think it's important to get both sides. But, yeah. Achievements in public health, 1990 to 1999. Fluoridation. How do you say it?
Fluoridation.
Fluoridation of drinking water to prevent dental crises by the CDC. Fluoridation of communal drinking water is a major factor of responsibility for decline in dental crises, aka tooth decay, during the second half of the 20th century. The history of fluoridation is a classic example of chemical observation leaning towards epidemiological investigations of community-based public health and interventions. Although our fluoride continuing products are available, water fluoridation remains the most equitable and cost-efficient method of delivering fluoride to all members of most communities, regardless of age, education, and income level. Now, right off the rip, how many big, stupid words did they shove in that?
Too many.
To make you feel stupid.
Or to make them feel smart.
Official.
Yeah.
It feels official because, yeah, it doesn't. I hate when anybody does this. Anybody.
I know you do. Can we say that in layman's terms?
Yeah. So basically, they're saying that this is a major. They believe that this is a major benefit to the community for preventing dental or help with dental hygiene, help with your tooth strengthening and stuff like that.
Strengthen your teeth and prevent cavities.
And the best way to do that is putting it in the water because that's where it hits most people. It comes in your pipes into your house.
Mm-hmm. And like they said, the products like toothpaste. That's your main. Every major brand of toothpaste is fluoride.
I will tell you, it kills quail.
Ooh,
I'll spoil that right now.
Interesting.
Fluoride kills quail. But
red flag.
If you breathe on quail or hit them with a light bulb, they die too.
That's true. Personal experience. Ain't that right, Daniel?
Yeah, Wilbur. Yeah, quail jumped into a heat lamp the other day and it exploded.
The heat lamp did, not the quail.
He basically did. He died that day.
Yeah.
He broke the glass and it caught fire.
I just don't want anyone to imagine a quail exploding.
He was about 10 seconds from it. So the dental crises. Dental caries is an infectious, communicable, and malfunctionable disease. Man, I hate how they word this stuff. It's a disease. Mm-hmm. It's a tooth disease. Mm-hmm. That affects the enamel surface of the tooth. Unchecked, this bacteria it just causes all kind of problem. I'm not reading this whole stupid thing. They're just saying that it causes tooth rot, like any other tooth decay. At the beginning of the 20th century, though, extensive dental problems this bacteria was common in the United States and most other developing countries. No effective measures existed at the time for preventing this disease, and the most frequent treatment was tooth extraction because people didn't brush their teeth.
Well, no, it's because they didn't have fluoride.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In their toothpaste.
So failure to meet the minimum standard of having 6 opposing teeth was the leading cause of rejection for military service in both world wars.
For not having teeth?
For not having at least 6 teeth because you couldn't eat your meals properly.
Oh, okay. Okay. Makes more sense.
So that's one of the big pushes for having fluoride in the water is having better tooth, so they could put you into the army.
Yes. So
I wouldn't. That's not really good.
So that's
incentive to brush our teeth.
Yeah, exactly. That's why there wasn't too many people from Kentucky or West Virginia in the army.
Yeah, because you couldn't put shoes on them.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not joking. There was one of the MK Ultra studies. Well, eventually we'll do a whole series on this show, but MK Ultra, Wilbur. Wilbur. I with my accent, it just comes out wrong. I can't read.
That's all right.
No, so we'll do MK Ultra, but that was a big thing is they were trying to hypnotize a bunch of hillbillies in the army to wear shoes.
And they were immune.
It worked, kind of. But there was other problems that would happen, like they'd eat each other.
Oh.
You crack a brain, problems happen. Anyway, history of water fluoridation. It just sounds like you're saying it like it's Florida.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The country's becoming a big Florida, which would mean we would have less teeth. And here's with your modeled enamel. So you were telling me about this. I'm just going to let you, if you want me to tell you dates and stuff like that, I'll tell you dates. But you were reading about this modeled enamel problem.
So I think it started they first started doing it in the 1920s. Is that
1901, Colorado Springs.
So early 1900s. They were testing communities with putting fluoride in the water for the purpose of strengthening. Was it strengthening enamel?
So it's modeled enamel. It's also called Colorado brown stain, just due to the poor water quality in Colorado actually causing these. I have a couple from me not being a great kid, like brush my teeth and stuff like that, but they're discolored patches on your teeth.
Okay.
Mine are kind of like a yellowy color.
Are you talking like mottled teeth?
Yeah, mottled teeth or Colorado brown stain was the same thing but brown.
Gotcha, okay.
It was a lot more noticeable.
So, yes, it was to fight that. It was to fight mottled teeth. It was to strengthen teeth, overall make your dental health better. So you're not making as many trips to the dentist's office and you're not spending as much money. It's better for your health, better for the healthcare system to have this in your water because it's preventing you from having to go to these places as often.
People are going to start calling you a shill again.
We're sticking to the narrative right now.
I know. I wrote the script and it's hard for me.
This is why they originally supposedly did it. And when it started all this there was a farmer in Texas who had high, like, what was it? Calcium fluoride. Yeah, calcium fluoride in his soil.
Yep.
And he noticed the community all had great teeth.
So I'll tell you, I have it right here.
Okay.
Most soil has 1 ppm.
Mm-hmm. Parts per million.
Yep. His soil, or that soil in the area, averaged 12.
And
so that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is.
But it is. But the important thing is it's naturally occurring. This isn't from like them putting it into the soil. It's just from a byproduct of them naturally.
But I want to say this because we said it off air. Mm-hmm. Correlation is not always causation.
Mm-hmm. But the important part is it's natural. It wasn't put there artificially. It's not just a byproduct. They sprinkled it onto the soil like they are sprinkling it into our water, or pouring it into our water. There's a difference there. And then that same farmer, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I have it in articles.
McKay.
He's also claimed after the fact. Should I get to that now?
Go ahead.
Might as well. He claimed after the fact that. So he was the first one that proposed it. So they took that idea and then they ran with it to put it in the water, for your dental health. He was the one that said after the fact it wasn't that the chemical itself that made the community have great teeth. It was the fact that the plants were absorbing it and using it, and you eating the plants and stuff. Everything that was grown in that soil is what gave you the great teeth, like the outcome.
It wasn't the fluoride; it was the calcium.
See, and
the plants were a lot richer in calcium.
And yes.
Not the fluoride.
Mm-hmm.
Eat calcium.
So they took basically his line of having this calcium fluoride in the soil. They took that and ran with it saying, oh, it's the fluoride. Mm-hmm. So we're going to put this in the water because look, this community has great teeth. It's the fluoride. It's not the fluoride. Well, hindsight, it wasn't the fluoride.
Right, and I get that, and that's we're talking in
100 years ago,
over 100 years ago, almost 130.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's a while ago.
So he was doing the best of his knowledge, and a lot of these problems we're going to talk about with this series, a lot of them start with the people with the best intentions.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I don't think he. Yeah, I don't know. I think they took his words and ran with it to the extreme.
So there's some big players in the 30s and stuff like that. It's just so many big words. But yeah, so they started in. Why don't you start talking about what's kind of the first test city was?
Oh, I think it was Grand Rapids, Michigan, correct? And was that in the 20s? I remember something started in the 20s.
The 40s.
That was the 40s? Mm-hmm. See, I think they might have tested it also in smaller communities.
Yeah, in the 30s. 31, 30. They stopped during World War II.
Okay, there we go.
They weren't messing around with it. So it really never got any steam until after World War II.
Mm-hmm. Which, weird. I guess we'll get back to that after World War II. Because who came over here after World War II? Who do we incorporate into our...
I don't think it's anything directly to do with that, because I think we were already going to, we would have done this probably in 39 if World War II didn't happen, because it was a back burner project for a lot of these guys.
I think we may have learned some things or two, though, from that.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I get you.
Maybe that's more on the conspiracy side, because it's hard to find stuff to back that up, but we'll get to it.
Back that up.
There is a prominent figure that makes that claim in 2014. But I'm trying to find here. Let's see here. I have in my newspaper. So I have a newspaper article from the 1961. This newspaper is called Common Sense, America's Newspaper Against Communism. Which I don't know if it's a biased paper, like how we have some nowadays, where it's clearly got an angle of bias towards it. But it does attack some pretty serious issues. So I don't know how to take this, but it's got a lot of interesting facts and a lot of interesting claims that actually happen, like debates and stuff that actually happened back in the day about this stuff. So there was a debate. Let's see here. Let's try. I know this is great radio here.
Great radio. Now, this show's going to be a lot different than any other shows on this network.
So I'll just begin by reading this article off. A tremendous drive is... Are we ready for... have we gotten through the narrative part?
No, I still have stuff.
Oh, well,
so save this back for a second.
Yes.
I didn't know you were getting into that.
Okay, yeah, let's get into the...
We're still working out some kinks in this show.
Yeah, it's okay.
So population served by water fluoridation. By the end of 1992, there was 10,567 public water systems serving 135 million persons in 8,573 U.S. communities had installed water fluoridation. Approximately 70% of all U.S. citizens with a population greater than 100,000 use fluoridated water. In addition, 3,784 public water systems serving 10 million persons in 1924 communities had natural fluoridation levels greater or equal to 0.7 parts per million. So those weren't high priority targets because they were so close anyways that it wasn't worth the money. In total, 144 million persons in the United States, 56% of the population, were receiving water fluoridation in 1992, including 60% served public water systems. However, approximately 42,000 public water systems in 151 U.S. cities with populations greater than or equal to 50,000 have not installed water fluoridation as of yet. Cost effectiveness and cost savings of fluoridation. Water fluoridation costs a range of a mean of 31 cents per person in the U.S. community of greater than 50,000 persons, and a mean of $2.12 per person is less than 10,000. Compared with other means of community-based dental prevention, water fluoridation is the most cost-effective way for most areas of the United States in terms of cost perspective to save tooth surface.
So, question real quick. Does this mean costs, it's coming out of our taxes? Like, are we paying for this?
Why would you ask that? How dare you?
I'm curious.
Yes, it is.
So we're paying to fluoridize our own water supply.
Of course.
Okay. Just make sure that's stated.
Water fluoridation reduces dental health care expenditures through primary prevention of dental crises and avoidance of restoration of care. So basically, they're saying we save money in the end because teeth are being better long term, so the government's not having to spend as much money on saving people's teeth.
And you don't have to spend as much money personally because you don't have to go to the dentist.
Mm-hmm.
How thoughtful.
Safety of water fluoridation. Early investigations into the psychological effects of fluoridization in drinking water predated the first community field test. Since 1950, opponents of water fluoridations have claimed the increased risk of cancer, Down syndrome, heart disease, osteoporosis, bone fractures, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, lower intelligence, Alzheimer's disease, allergic reactions, and other health concerns. So once again, I'm reading this word for word from the CDC's article on this. I just want to make sure this is clear for this next couple sentences.
These are just the... Oh, right, yeah.
The safety and effectiveness of water fluoridation has been reevaluated frequently, and no credible evidence has supported any accusations between fluoridization and any of these conditions. They don't list any studies.
None. And these proponents, were there right off the rip, right off the beginning. All of these things against it.
There was people immediately were saying this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to say that it's kind of weird that there's no studies saying against it.
Mm-hmm.
There's only studies for saying that, it causes these things. And I'll be fair, those studies have mixed bag results. So nothing has been proven on that side. But I can't find studies that say that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the same thing with, all these other hot button topics with, vaccines and stuff like that. You can find the one article that says that vaccines cause autisms, and you can find 10,000 that doesn't. I kind of have the opposite problem with this, where I can't find any that say it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, just saying, just making that clear. And they don't list any. You'd think if you had that study,
you would
be waving it around.
Front and center.
I'm not going to read their 21st century challenges. It just talks about persons between 12 and 17 aren't drinking water, and they're really worried about them.
Wow. For your health. They're worried about you.
Don't drink. We're not trying to scare anybody when we're about to talk in the second half of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But I just want to make sure everybody knows that bottled water comes most of the time from a city water system.
Yep, that's true. Especially,
Distilled.
Some of them is just straight up tap water.
That's what I'm saying. They're all tap water.
Mm-hmm.
They're all tap water.
Mm-hmm.
Water bottles are just...
Oh, you're saying drink distilled.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And even distilled, you got to be careful drinking just straight distilled water.
Yeah, you should so you shouldn't just drink straight distilled water because it can cause you to lose some nutrients and stuff like that because of osmosis.
And it doesn't have the minerals and stuff in it. Because distilled is made from boiling water. And
drink Gatorade.
No, don't drink that. Don't drink that.
Don't just drink Gatorade.
Don't even drink. As Wilbur says, don't drink Gatorade. It's got there's so much stuff, and it's just not good for you.
None of it's good for you. Something's going to kill you. Might as well be fun.
I guess so. Yeah, fun.
What's not a carcinogen anymore?
What is?
What's not?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll find out. Maybe.
Okay.
Distilled water.
The CDC does have a little thing about saying it doesn't cause cancer.
Okay, what do they have to say about that?
It's the same stuff. It's just a big long blob of it.
That just says it doesn't.
There's no possible relationship between cancer risk and fluoride.
Not even possible. Not even possible.
But there's not any studies listed
that show.
I'm a study reader.
Yeah.
You know this about me.
Mm-hmm.
If I could find the study for it, on other things, I've read NASA studies completely, and that sucked.
Yeah.
But I read them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find the study.
Wonder why.
All right, now go into your thing. I'm sorry.
Okay, so now we're going to jump into this newspaper article, and it's called Fluoridation Folly. Are you forced to drink rat poison? So like I said, it may be biased off the rip. I don't know 100% for sure, but it has a lot of information that I struggled to find online until I found this newspaper article. It says, a tremendous drive is on to fluoridate water supplies of the nation. U.S. Public Health Services and the American Dental Association front for the powers behind the scenes. Their support helps persuade many other organizations to endorse work for installing equipment that injects deadly poisonous fluorides, usually sodium fluoride, at waterworks plants into water supplies. The excuse is that fluoridated water, which we went over this, drinking water, helps cut down dental decay in children and thus will benefit their health in all their lives. To oppose fluoridation, therefore, puts such opponents at an unenviable category of meanies who are against children welfare.
So I get that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very hard political stance to take when the average public voter doesn't understand the stance.
Right. When you're told this is what it's for and why we're doing it, which I wish we could. We should always analyze these things, even in today. Like we need to today. When you're pit up against this is for your health and it's good for you.
Oh my gosh!
And then you oppose it.
Listen,
you're automatically a bad person.
Anybody in power ever has said this is good for you. It has never once been. Never. I can think of 100 examples. Smallpox blankets are the biggest one for me. The Native Americans got the raw end of the deal
bad
forever. I mean,
Yes.
they're still getting the raw end of the deal.
Yes.
But and you know how many times the U.S. government or at that time it was the European governments that were like, yeah, this is good for you. Take a blanket.
Which that could be another future episode.
Take the shot.
Exactly. It's good for you. There's no other option. This is the only thing that's good for you. Don't focus on your health or your diet or your exercising.
Do your Fauci.
Okay, hold on. You gotta take the shot. It's very good for your health. It's the only way to help stop the spread.
You sound like a Jewish mother.
So does he.
Kinda.
That's my bad.
I like your Fauci though.
I'm not that good at it.
Fettuccine.
I gotta practice it more. He gets a little nasally, especially when he's been talking
You sound
too much.
more and more like a Brooklyn mother the more you do it.
So does he.
I know. If I'd close my eyes when you were doing that, I see a lovely lady that's a really good cook. That's maybe 150 pounds overweight and likes to gossip.
Oh my! I know one of them. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's pretty funny.
But man, dinner on Sunday.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of sausage. All right. I don't know why I said that. Okay, so despite this emotional disadvantage with powerful organizations such as governmental agencies, societies, Chamber of Commerce, and most of the press, radio, and TV, with millions of dollars to influence the public, which we'll get to that soon, the power of truth is demonstrated in the fact that pro-Florida, I can't say this word, pro-Florida, oh my gosh, pro-fluoridationists, there we go. So people for the fluoride in the water admit a losing battle. Witness President of the ADA, Dr. Charles H. Patton, complaining that at November 8th, 1960 polls, only 5 towns with 40,000 people population approved fluoridation, while 1 million people in 29 counties in 11 states defeated it.
So if you give it public vote, normally it doesn't go good.
Especially back then. And this was with the campaigns. And we'll get to it later. There was campaigns throughout the media, throughout the government. Like
we're going to do an episode on GMOs. And that's the exact same thing that happened. And you know my stance, my education, my background. I like GMOs. But you got to understand, you got to look into what you're calling a GMO and what you're not calling a GMO. Yes. I don't like Roundup GMOs. Like Roundup Ready stuff is one thing. Nope, you don't eat anything that's not a GMO anymore. The corn you grow in your backyard is not sorghum. It's a GMO.
So is there a difference between like selective breeding and
That
GMOs?
is a GMO.
Okay, there you go.
It is a genetically modified organism because you are picking genetics. Nature is not randomly taking its course anymore.
Kind of.
No, when you start selecting...
Yeah, but we're nature.
We're not nature. We severed our connection to nature a long time ago.
Yeah, with using what chemical? Fluoride.
No, I'm going to say petroleum.
Okay, petroleum-based diets.
Petroleum in the air.
All right. Under the date of February 1961, Changing Times in the Kiplinger magazine, published in Washington, D.C., admits anti-fluoridation forces apparently are winning the battle over treatment of water to check tooth decay. About 4 out of 5 communities turned down the idea last year in public referendums, a development that has caused dejection in fluoridation camps. U.S. Public Health Service figures indicate a decrease in cavities, particularly among children, in communities which have been using the fluoridated water. So, U.S. Public Health Services are publicly saying that children's cavities have gone down in communities that are using fluoridated water. Now, we'll find out later that there's been studies that were done that that's not true. It didn't happen.
So, lying with statistics.
Yes.
All right, so in previous life, we'd do some survey stuff, and another company would do the survey of the same area, and we'd get completely different results because of how, I guess, we each skewed the data, even though I always assume, like, we didn't skew the data. It's how you present the data. You can present the data many different ways to get many different numbers.
Yeah, and it's how you present it.
Yeah, like, for this study, you could, really only look at, like, you could use a body fat thing for the kids you're surveying. So, not saying anything. I'm a big man. I got a belly. But if you're a heftier kid, you're probably not eating the best stuff. Not eating the best stuff is going to affect your teeth health also. So you can really make that skewed. Like if you're looking at kids, like younger kids that have an IBI of higher than, 20, that's really going to get a different survey. You can make these results change very dramatically.
And yeah, it doesn't depend on this one factor. Like they could have just banned candy in a town or something.
If you banned pop,
oh my gosh,
in the U.S., and I'm a pop drinker, I got a 2-liter Dr. Pepper sitting next to me. The obesity and diabetes would go down extremely.
I agree,
and so would tooth decay.
I agree with that. Yeah, but
sorry, I just had to say that.
No, that's a great point.
It is.
It is, and it's just not really put into the discussion.
And I'll say this for everybody at home: the whole point of this series is to not. We're not going to be your typical conspiracy podcast. That's not the goal. The goal is for you to to give you enough of both sides to look in and make your own decisions. So when you look at these studies, please read the study. They always bet you're not going to read the study. That's why they give you the overview at the beginning,
the headline.
Yeah, and that's what most people read. It's a couple paragraphs. Look at the parameters of studies because they'll be in there.
The best is I've read some, and at the very end, it literally just discredits the whole thing they were just talking about.
It'll say because these factors of study may be inaccurate.
Yeah,
or whatever. And so the truth is in these studies. They're not lying per se, but like I said a minute ago, it's presenting the data.
They bury it. They bury the hard facts of it.
Yeah, you can find the truth in these studies.
Let's see here. There was a debate in. Okay, so since these admissions from the Public Health Service, there was a drive to fluoridate. The drive went up nationally. National Broadcasting Company (NBC), headed by Russian-born Jew David Sarnoff, and his son Robert.
That's a hell of a title.
I know, right? And
I'm going to say that this newspaper you're using,
yeah,
may have something against Russians and Jewish people.
Possibly, or it just might be kind of more open or straightforward back then.
I just don't think it mattered.
Maybe not, but maybe towards national. This is after World War II.
Russia doesn't even fluoride their water.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but one way or the other. Is that good, bad, or ugly, or neither?
You're the good, bad, and the ugly.
I know.
What the hell is that?
That's from Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, Clint Eastwood.
Oh,
The Western?
yes. Now I know what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. So, okay.
Professional.
Okay, so
podcasters.
yes. So NBC stages two nationwide programs purporting to debate both sides of the fluoridation controversy on February 7th and February 18th, 1961. So pro-fluoridationist Dave Garroway devotes his 7 to 8 a.m. program on Channel 4 to a one-sided misnamed debate between Dr. Alan London, who was against the fluoridation, and and a doctor who was for fluoridation, which the newspaper says it did not get the name for, which I don't know why. But basically they're saying like this debate, and they put debate in quotes, was very one-sided. The questions were basically skewed.
Oh, one of those
to
good
give
ones.
to give the for answer or for fluoridation like the advantage in the debate.
Like the question is like, well, why do you hate kids?
Yes, it was stuff like that. And they said it was very one-sided, and it was taking shots at the other guy, and then basically framing the man that was debating against it as being a bad person and being a crackpot. So like there was like a national, how would you put this? Like a national media, newspaper, TV, and stuff like that. When they put out stuff like this, they specifically use the name crackpot and words like that to frame this person. So they weren't discrediting his argument; they were discrediting the person presenting it, and then not even challenging his facts he brought to it, but discrediting him. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how the trend went. So after they had this debate, they publicly put it out there on NBC, but it was re-edited after to make him seem like an idiot, basically. So it didn't even show the whole debate. It was edited to present the one side as being the correct side. So it's messing with the person's mind that's coming into this unbiased either way. Like you don't have an opinion either way, but you watch this debate, you're going to feel like, okay, fluoride's a good thing in the water. It's good for us. And people who think the other way are they're crackpots. So Garroway, which was the guy that ran the NBC program that was for fluoridation, did admit that 48 out of 53 towns had turned down fluoridation at the polls. He also expressed surprise that the pro-fluoridationist, this word's going to kill me, doctor refused to debate with the anti-fluoridationist Dr. London. Like he refused to debate him publicly.
Yeah, I was going to say publicly.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do it in studio.
Correct. So he won't do it publicly or on live in front of people. Where was I just reading? So many societies this proponent emphasized so many societies have endorsed fluoridation, therefore there was nothing to debate. That's basically his argument. So many people endorse the idea that it's good for you that there's nothing to even debate.
We used to also put uranium in lipstick.
Radium too.
Yeah.
And to relate this to nowadays, it reminds me of the saying, the science is settled.
Oh gosh.
And I hate that because isn't the point of science constantly...
It's supposed to be constantly changing, and science is supposed to like questions.
Yes, constantly being challenged. And we've said it before on the main show, or on this other show of our friends that helped us out, get this started. The truth likes being questioned. The lie hates it.
Yeah.
Does not like being debated. And then here's a little side thing from the debate. To give an idea of the atmosphere in this misnamed debate, a TV shot was made of a building with a Nazi swastika splashed on it, and denied that fluoridation was a communist plot. Hence, the idea was planted that anyone opposing fluoridation was a Nazi. Now, you ever heard that before nowadays?
Yeah, anybody that poses for fluoridation is a Nazi.
No, that anyone that is like opposed to the narrative.
Oh no, it's Nazi and racist.
Yes.
Like that's the two things you get thrown at you.
And they were doing this back in the 60s and 50s.
Oh no, Nazi, that was more used.
Right. But it's like that common theme has not died.
It was communist for a long time too. That you're a commie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And what was I going to say about? So in 2014, Jesse Ventura said on TV that the Nazis put fluoride in their water. Now, this is I couldn't find it because obviously you can't really get that information find that information, because if it really happened, I don't think anyone in our government's going to want to let that be out there. But I can't really search their records. I don't know how you find like the Nazi database, like what they were using. But he made that claim that they were putting fluoride in the water.
Jesse Ventura.
And
I missed his show.
Yeah, he had a show called Conspiracy Theories, and he really asked.
That's where I learned about Plum Island.
Yeah, he asked very important questions, I think.
He went and stood on the beach of Montauk and flipped off Plum Island for like 2 hours. I'm not joking.
I liked it.
They wouldn't let him over.
Yeah. I mean...
And they had like an appointment and everything, and then they wouldn't let him over.
Wouldn't let him in. Wonder why.
He just stood there and flipped them off, screaming at him.
Yeah.
Because they're only like 200 yards off the friggin'
Not
beach.
far, yeah. And his show was pulled off the air,
If
too.
he'd have been 20 years younger, he'd have swam out there.
I'm sure, I guarantee you, he was the Navy SEAL.
He is, I think, sometimes a little too far the other way.
What do you mean the other way?
He's definitely... Well, it's going to come up in this series a lot. I have a problem with conspiracy. The people with conspiracy, just as much as I have a problem with the government, is that I think he is not as like, what's his nuts? Turning the freaking frogs gay.
Oh, Alex Jones?
Yeah, he's not as far as like Alex Jones, as far as I'm concerned. But he's one of those where I think it's like everything is conspiracy. But he was government. He knew that there's stuff there. But I think now it's all real.
I mean, he was the governor of Minnesota.
Nothing is happening in Minnesota.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Nothing.
Yes, there is, but
what's happening in Minnesota?
I don't want to talk about it on air, not even for us on this show.
Oh gosh, what's happening in Minnesota?
Well, something's up there, probably in the water.
The donuts.
That was an awful accent. No, but I like Jesse Ventura. I think he does ask important questions that need to be asked.
I'm glad somebody's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And he was in government. He was in the military. He's a prominent figure, I think. So I think it's good that someone like him exists. And fun fact, I'll admit it. I voted for him for vice president in 2020.
He was an option?
I wrote him in. He actually did. He did have a pretty good... He tried to campaign right at the end, and he had a great platform. Loved it. But, Jesse Ventura. I like him. But let's see here. I can get more into that debate, but basically you get the picture of the debate. Let's see. NBC purported the debate on desirability of fluoridization was about 80% for and only 20% against it. So that's what they purported, the statistics, NBC.
Didn't we just talk that it was the exact opposite?
Ain't that funny? So they're just, and I think that even happens nowadays. They just lie. They just put their own statistics out there, like whatever, and then...
I mean, I could say whatever.
Exactly.
I polled everybody in this room, and now I know for a fact the moon's real and space is real.
95% of people in this room said it is.
Yeah.
Because you asked all those fish over there, all those people on the wall, all those pictures on the wall, they said yes.
So yeah. So you're a crackpot.
Yeah, exactly.
But you are a crackpot.
But that's how it works. It's just nuts that this is, I think, going on today, and it's been going on.
Can we get into? Is it too early, or can we get into some of the conspiracies with fluoride? Why they're doing it?
Well, okay. So why we think they're putting it in the water? So as far as
what people are saying, because there's a lot of different conspiracies with this.
Yeah. Let's get into it, because I have my thoughts, and
the biggest one you hear in the circles we run is the pineal gland calcification. Is that your pineal gland is the actual true third eye. I believe there's stuff on the other side of the veil. I believe humans can't have the ability to talk or interact with those things, and there may be an organ or a piece of our anatomy that we can do this with. But they're saying it's a pineal gland, and to keep the population not being able to access that part of our body, that they put fluoride in the water to help lower the number of people that can
activate it. So from what I understand, probably the best way I can put it is like that pineal gland is that link to your spiritual self or the spiritual realm. It's like your antenna that is basically in touch with that realm and in touch with your spiritual side. So whether that, comes with religion and stuff like that, that's a whole other thing. But that it's just that side of your mind that thinks in that way. And the fluoride is supposed to negate that from happening, or it severs that link by calcifying that gland. Now, we don't know 100% sure what that gland does, 100%. But yeah, I mean, I know you have a pretty good idea.
We'll get into that in a minute. Yeah, so the pineal gland has been mapped pretty hardcore because of what it does. So it's very important for a lot of modern medicine and stuff like that. So I think here's my problem with conspiracy, is that it's the best tool the government has ever invented. And that's why, because it can hide the truth so much easier, because you give these other red herrings to follow.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's what the opening your third eye and stuff with your pineal, is what the red herring. It's the red herring. It's not, your pineal gland doesn't do that, in my opinion. It does do other extremely important things.
It is important. We know that.
I think if there is a part of your brain specifically that does this third eye kind of stuff, it's probably your pituitary gland.
Okay.
That sits right on top of your optic nerves. A lot of people think it may, take in ultraviolet light, stuff like this, and you actually see the other spectrum. Like these things, they're not interdimensional. They're just on a different light wave. They're walking around us. You bump them every once in a while. You trip on them.
Yeah, everything is frequency and vibration, or light and vibration.
Yeah.
And
Light
frequency.
waves.
Yeah.
So I think, let's talk about the pineal gland.
Yeah, let's get into that, because I think this is the very important part of this debate of the fluoride and stuff like that, because this is the one that's always brought up. It's not that and we're going to get into other things that fluoride is going to do to the body, but this is the main one that I think is the conspiracy, or the main topic of why fluoride is bad.
But fluoride with your pineal gland, where I had it, they found it has more fluoride concentration in it than any other body tissue, sometimes upwards of 300 parts per million. Now, I want you to remember the numbers we talked about earlier. Most soil has 1 part per million. Most drinking water has 12 parts per million. Your pineal gland is, so some different tissues with different chemicals accumulate.
Right.
Like heavy metals mostly accumulate in the liver and stuff like that. Fluoride accumulates in the pineal gland. It does. We don't know why, but it does. 300 ppm is gigantic. It's crazy.
Now, do you think that is... What if someone that's not exposed to fluoride, unnatural, or someone is just not exposed to it, they're not
going to have
water.
any in it.
Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted to get at.
Yeah, you're going to have nothing. I mean, you're going to probably have 0.07 ppm or something like that, some normal-ish number.
That's what I wanted to know. What's the baseline for normal, whatever,
I'm going to tell you the 5 functions of the pineal gland. Pineal gland produces several hormones. One of these is melatonin, helps regulate the body's internal clock, keeping our sleep-wake cycle regular. The pineal gland may also help regulate female hormone levels and contribute to cardiovascular health and mood stability. And one more thing I'm going to keep secret for now.
Okay.
The pineal gland and melatonin. So the pineal gland is the thing that makes melatonin, is the thing that controls your sleep cycle. This is super important. We're going to talk about here in a little bit that 89% of adults or something like that in the U.S. have sleep problems, and 72% of children. So messing with your pineal gland is the easiest way to cause sleep disruption. Why would we want sleep disruption? We'll talk about it in a minute. Let's get to number 2, pineal gland and cardiovascular health. Melatonin also plays a huge role in heart-related conditions. It can cause irregular blood pressures, high and low, regulations in heart rate, and vascular resistance. So melatonin also does these things, and almost all your melatonin comes from your pineal gland. So when you start screwing with this, you start having heart conditions, you start having high blood pressure. Most of the U.S. is in a high blood pressure swing right now. Not most, but we have an unprecedented amount of blood pressure, high blood pressure.
The numbers are higher than they should be.
The pineal gland and the female hormones. The menstrual cycle, there's a lot of evidence suggesting the menstrual cycle is influenced heavily by the pineal gland and melatonin levels, which is another form of melatonin.
This just gave me a thought, and I could be completely wrong on this, but you know how like when women are around each other and they're on their time of the month?
That is a myth.
I've seen it.
I lived in a house with a lot of women,
Uh-huh.
and I felt like it happened, but I think it's because it's a week long, and it's the odds game.
Maybe. But what if they're linked through? What if their pineal glands, like, are not communicating, but, feeding off each other's energy? Maybe. I don't know. Just a thought.
I'm going to say no, but that's just me.
That's okay.
But
I'm putting it out there. It's in the public record.
But yeah, it
Wilbur,
controls.
Wilbur thinks.
Wilbur thinks a T-shirt. Maybe our first T-shirt. No, pineal gland, female hormones, regulates menstrual cycles. The U.S. is having a really big problem right now with people actually getting pregnant in irregular menstrual cycles. So the people are having trouble planning. But yeah, pineal gland and mood stabilization. The size of your pineal gland may indicate your risk for certain mood disorders. And this 2015 and 2019 studies suggest that it has a heavy role with depression, suicide, stuff like that. And the U.S. is and schizophrenia. Your pineal gland health directly relates this to your whole body health with mood stabilization.
So, this could be kind of that linked, not to that spiritual side, but just that in tune with yourself, your body. I don't know, stuff like that.
It's definitely one that that's a big thing.
Yeah. But it's never like, were you taught about it in school? Like
what?
In biology class, your pineal, we were.
Yeah, we talked about the pineal gland.
Like in this much depth?
Yeah, Miss Bowden did. You weren't paying attention because you were throwing cat guts around.
No, come on. That was the only class I did pay attention to.
Yeah, and she hated you.
No, she didn't.
I talked to her about you the other day.
I doubt it.
Anyways, yeah, so the U.S. is having a lot of problems with a lot of these mood disorders.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, very much so.
Here's another really big one. Pineal gland and cancer. Experts have melatonin production in the pineal gland may help prevent cancer cells, may help you get rid of cancer cells and slow the progression of cancer. This is from a 2019 study. All these studies you can find, they're pretty easy to find, but the pineal gland directly relates to your survivability and your likelihood of getting cancer with your pineal gland health.
So it just goes beyond brain function, like. That's kind of a big deal.
Your pineal gland does very little with your brain.
Right, yeah.
If anything. It's attached to your brain, sure, but it's not doing a whole hell of a lot with your actual brain. I think that's a big misconception.
That it's like a regulator of some sorts of your brain? Or what?
Yeah, and this little website with the pineal gland functions has in the frequently asked questions, why is the pineal gland called the third eye? I just thought that was kind of interesting because it gets asked a lot to this.
Yeah.
I like this website, but people refer to the pineal gland as the third eye because, like your eyes, it responds to light and dark senses. The gland contains light-sensitive cells that secrete melatonin and responds to changing light throughout the day. It's responsible for helping your circadian rhythm in your sleep-wake cycle. So it does get a light input, but not in the same sense as optic nerves.
So I always read that it had rods and cones in it. Is that any?
I don't think so. It's a different. It's a simpler version, if so. It's not like our true rods and cones. 'Cause that's how we did colors and stuff like that. This is more like there's a lizard called not a lizard. It's its own species, a reptile called a tuatara, has a primitive third eye. It's still one of the few reptiles or anything on the planet that still has its third eye abundant. And that's what it does. It's directly connected to the brain on top of the head.
Okay.
And it's not an eye like an eye. It is a simple group of cells that just detects the amount of light.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's really, as far as the pineal gland being an eye, seems to come from. But this is super responsible for your sleep, in your overall mood, and cancer. Stuff the U.S. is having dramatic problems with. And there's a lot of scientific evidence to say that it is getting, the pineal gland specifically, is having so much fluoride accumulate in it.
Which is documented.
Yeah, and There's not a lot of saying that connection, though.
Mm-mm.
And we're talking about correlation and connection.
And causation, yeah.
Now, I'm going to scream for a second.
Okay.
If this is true, the fluoride is affecting your sleep cycle, why would the government keep pushing it?
Help your teeth.
The Nazis found out, and Stalin, everybody, every superpower figured out that sleep deprivation is the easiest way to control a population and prevent uprisings. So think about it. You work 8 hours a day. You sleep. You're supposed to sleep for 8 hours at least. Get good sleep. So that only leaves you another 8 hours to cook, clean, feed your family, hang out with your kids, do any of this stuff.
Live your life.
So you have no time to plan your way out of the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And the more of that other 8 hours is eaten up by sleep because you're not sleeping good, the easier it is to control the population. Let's go full conspiracy. The third eye, your pineal gland, has nothing to do, in my opinion, with you in psychedelic and any of that stuff.
The release of DMT, that's a portal to different realms.
Exactly. This is all done to control the population, to keep the workers working and not figuring out how to start their own business, how to get out of the cycle, how to move on without relying on the government.
Yeah.
You have to rely on everything else because you have no time for anything else.
And you can't even think of another option that it is an option.
Me and you don't work conventional hours.
Correct.
And we still don't have time.
Correct. Not even close.
So it's crazy. I really think this is what this is. And then the cancer rate. We have unprecedented amount of cancer in the U.S. It's insane.
Right now? Yeah. And I mean, that's a whole other debate, too. It's how we treat cancer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
it's
a whole different
$1
episode.
billion industry. So
when my mom was going through cancer,
mm-hmm.
each one of her treatments was $68,000.
Jesus.
68,000.
That's
what it is?
insane.
And I think Australia does it pretty good. They have a lot of price control and a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $1,000.
It's insane. That is insane. And so anyone that's in charge of, making that much bank on each treatment with this disease, cancer's a disease, right?
Yeah.
And making money off
gallon of Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Making money off this disease, they aren't going to want that cash flow to stop at all. If anything, people want profits.
I cannot remember of the man that said this, but there's a famous quote saying, "There is much more money to be made in treating the disease than curing it."
Absolutely, 100%. And if you look at our modern medicine, I think it's only there. Our modern medicine, Western modern medicine, I'll say that, treats symptoms, not, what's the word? Treats the symptoms of the disease, not the cause of the disease.
Eat moldy bread, people.
Actually, I've heard...
You shouldn't.
You want to hear one I've heard to help?
Huh.
Now, it's conspiracy, viewer discretion advised. You buy some berries, raspberries, strawberries. Let them get a little moldy. When they get moldy, you blend them up, mold and all, and you drink the juice.
Okay, so here's the big thing with this.
Mm-hmm.
First off, don't eat moldy bread. Don't eat this thing Jay just described to you. I mean, Wilbur.
Well, that's my nickname. Wilbur's my real name.
I'm not editing this.
That's all right.
I've given up. Anyways, don't drink this stuff because here's the thing. Penicillin comes from one type of mold.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to ID that mold, more power to you. That will not be the only mold that grows on that concoction. So you could get something like a black mold on there.
No, you don't want that.
That will kill you.
Yeah, that's not good.
I'm just saying that if you can ID the mold,
right,
is one thing. What you just described sounds like shooting up bleach.
Come on.
Because you're guessing. You're like, I think this is the penicillin mold. It's blue and fuzzy.
Yeah.
So is, 24,000 other species of mold.
Is it any worse than shooting or injecting yourself with, what's that stuff they do to treat cancer right now? Why can't I think of the name? I don't know why.
Chemo?
Chemo. Is it any worse than chemo radiation for your body?
Depends on the species.
Oh, yes. Now, the black mold, yes. Wait.
No, I'm talking, there's blue fuzzies.
Oh, that are bad, too?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah. That's what I'm getting at. You really need to know how to ID
what mold you're
mold.
drinking. Yeah.
That system would work fine.
If
So
you,
why they always say it was bread? Because it's a bread mold. It's a species that really kind of enjoys bread.
Okay.
It's generally the first one that pops up on bread.
Mhm.
That's not guaranteed.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that concoction you just described doesn't sound like it'd be its first choice of food.
You know.
But somebody's coming to that party,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and it's probably going to kill you. Drink a little bleach. It's just, if you're going to do that, if you're going to set rotting fruit out
Yeah.
and eat the mold off of that, shoot a little bleach back with it,
Just a drip. Yeah. Remember.
This is all satire.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is. Do some research before you do anything.
Don't do any of
Don't
this.
do any of this. Yes.
Don't do any of this.
Viewer discretion is very advised.
Don't do any of this
So where were we at before all that?
pineal gland. I don't know.
You want to get into some more documentations and studies
If you want, we're already at an hour.
already?
Yeah.
Holy moly. Well, here we go.
Pick some of your highlights.
Maybe this will be a part 2. Documentation. As to doctors' assistance claims for children's teeth benefiting from, and this is back to the children's teeth claim, in Newburgh, New York, fluoridated water since 1945, New York State school authorities' investigations proved just the reverse. In Kingston, teeth of 5,308 children were inspected. 2,209 found with tooth defects, 41% of them. Kingston's water is not fluoridated.
So it's not fluorinated.
And 41% of them
have teeth problems.
tooth defects, yes. So now, the fluoridated water, which is in Newburgh, 4,969 pupils were inspected. 3,139 have tooth defects. So that's 63%. So school children's teeth in fluoridated Newburgh's water was over 50% worse than Kingston's. So at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where water is fluoridated, 90% of the children have tooth troubles. As to claims that up to 8 parts per million of fluoride in the water is safe, at Newburgh, 70% of the children have mottled teeth, the first sign of bloodstream poison with fluorine. So I think that mottled teeth comes from not the enamel themselves, but it comes from the bloodstream that supplies the nutrients to the tooth. That's what's affected, and that's what's messing with their teeth. So like the physical act of drinking the water, coating your teeth, whatever they're trying to say, doesn't do anything for the dentine or the enamel of your tooth at all. But it's affecting the supply of the nutrients to your teeth, which is affecting your teeth. But that's just one study that just completely went against the narrative. That why they're I don't know. It's just so frustrating.
Another thing we kind of missed in the beginning is that fluoride was a byproduct of a lot of industry.
The aluminum industry is one in particular.
Yeah. And they didn't know what to do with the stuff. And they
then,
weren't allowed to dump it anymore. Like, they usually just throw this in the ocean.
Should I bring up Mr. Oscar Ewing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think he's a prominent figure. So Oscar Ewing served in our government. He was one of the authors of the Fair Deal, and
which is what? Did we figure that out?
So the Fair Deal, it helped improve minimum wage. It did some good things for
most
working
of them
class
do.
However, there was a lot of other things it didn't do.
That's the thing with government. Most of these bills and stuff like that, they are positive and negative.
So
that's the point.
It proposed,
if you want this, you have to have this.
And it proposed a lot of good things, but a lot of those good things it proposed never got through.
Oh yeah,
not at all. It got struck down, like healthcare, like national healthcare, which I think personally is a good thing for everybody. But
I think we spend enough stupid money on other stuff.
I think if it was,
we could do this. I mean,
I think so too.
Because that's the big argument: is that it's going to cost us everything.
Mm-hmm.
We have the biggest military budget on the planet,
times 12.
Yeah,
you can take the next 12 countries, and ours is still bigger than all theirs combined.
You could take the U.S. government's hammer budget and probably do universal health care.
Oh, yeah. I think a third of it or a fourth of it would do it.
No, I'm talking
about
the hammer budget, just the budget to buy hammers every year.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like the hammer. Everything's a nail if you're a hammer. Like where our military budget was the hammer, so I thought you meant
literally like what we spend on hammers,
which is a whole military spending. That could be in a future episode.
Always good ideas.
But Oscar Ewing, 1944 was put on the payroll of the Aluminum Company of America, the law firm with which he was associated, being retained at $750,000 per year. In 1944, it's a lot of money. A few months thereafter, Mr. Ewing was made a federal security administrator, with the announcement that he was taking a big salary pay cut in order to serve his country. So what a good guy. The Federal Security Agency is now the Department of Health and Education and Welfare.
Health, education, and welfare. I'll tell you this right now. I don't like the government.
Same.
I was listening to a couple Australian podcasts the other day, and they hate our government too, and I thought it was hilarious. It just made me laugh that how the world views us.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not us.
No, it's not us.
That's the big people in the big White House.
Mm-hmm. See, and maybe we can skip ahead a little bit with let's stay on that topic.
Oh, gosh.
It's not us, but we do have the power to change it. But we have to organize. We have to know what we want as a society.
I'm gonna push back on that.
Yeah.
The easiest way is to push, to get rid of this system.
I was wave a gun around the air.
No, I'm not even gonna. That's my line.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta get a button for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the second easiest. Mm-hmm. No, because when you pick that line, that's an irreversible line, and you immediately are going to lead to the country into 100 years of turmoil.
Yes.
If you pick that route.
Yeah.
The next episode of this podcast, DW Conspiracy Shack, will be a great example of how to take the government's power away from them.
Right, yeah.
By being self-sufficient. When they hike up prices on stuff,
mm-hmm.
it doesn't affect you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way. That's the whole point that they do this stuff.
I think we're saying the same thing.
I think so. I'm just saying
in different ways.
You don't have to go out and strip the power from them. You start stripping the power in your own home.
Yes, you start with yourself.
Yeah.
And you start with your own community, your own local community.
So when they raise the prices on gas and stuff like that, they raise the prices on food.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have food, your family still has food, you're still happy.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't affect you.
That is immediately the biggest hit to their power.
Mm-hmm.
They're, because they don't know what to do at that point. Because then they would have to move to force, and then force moves on to that second step.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest way is just listen to the next episode. We're going to give you a whole bunch of ideas of how to help get away from this system.
Mm-hmm.
To help not be dependent on the food. When we're spending a third of our paycheck on food,
right?
We don't need to do that.
No, we don't. Not if you can take care of yourself. Kind of like we did back in the olden days.
That's the whole goal of this year is to go back to that.
Mm-hmm. I want to get a little bit more on this Oscar Ewing guy.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Because I just want to get this out there and just put it out there because I think he was an important figure that no one really knows anything about. During his term while he was in the now Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, he had years of huge budgets with untold millions being doled out through grants to medical and dental colleges and state departments of health for research and welfare projects. So to me, that sounds like propaganda, is my personal interpretation of that. There was plenty of money, too, for educational projects in 1951. Mr. Ewing asked for $2 million for fluoridation propaganda. $2 million! After there's been studies that proved it doesn't actually help. So why is he asking for more money just to put out for propaganda for this, to make it a positive thing? Grants were awarded to those organizations and institutions sympathetic to the policies and pronouncements of the U.S. Public Health Service, which had become a powerful bureaucracy. I can't say that word. These grants were powerful weapons. So this is the kind of way I think government holds power or expands power. It's through propaganda and your own money. That's the thing. It's our money. We're paying. They're spending our money to propagandize us, our own thoughts, which is, I don't think anyone's aware of that to what extent it really is or has been for who knows how many years. You know what I mean? And did you know that I think it was Obama passed a law which made it so it used to be illegal. I forget when it initially got passed to propagandize the U.S. population with its own government. It was illegal. Obama passed a law that stripped that away. So now became legal again to propagandize the U.S. public. Now, we were allowed to do it to other countries and things, which we did do, which is probably responsible for all the wars we've been in and stuff like
I don't know what you're talking about.
It says the conspiracy shack. But he stripped that. He took that law away to make it legal to do it to the U.S. government or U.S. population, which I don't know if that many people are aware of that. Were you aware of that?
No.
I'll have to look up the law. Maybe we'll do it on the next episode. I'll make sure I have that because I don't have it off the top of my head. The U.S. Public Health Service, with millions at its command for education, thus became a huge propaganda machine with movies and expensive brochures, lectures, radio, and generous expense accounts for officials. This newspaper's like blotted out. Every aid was employed to boost fluoridation. So there was nothing being put out or spent on to be anti-fluoridation. Everything was pro-fluoridation. With concentration on parent-teacher associations to convert them into enthusiastic, if misinformed, promoters of fluoridation. So they're getting into the schools, they're getting into like educational institutions to promote this, but they're teaching people to be pro it. They not being aware that they are what the studies even are, just that they are pro and that they need to teach this. For all practical purposes, the U.S. Public Health Service became a huge advertising agency in the service of several affluent corporations. So that's not a good thing.
I know what you're talking about.
U.S. Public Health Service should not be associated with any corporations at all, let alone being a advertising agency for them.
Corporations are our friends.
And are we a democracy like they always talk about?
Yeah, between corporations.
According to this study, and I think it was done in Princeton University, our government actually acts as an oligarchy and not a democracy, which we are not a democracy. We're actually a U.S. republic to begin with. But everything that we do acts in line of an oligarchy. Every law that's ever been passed in our history, every bill that's ever been passed, has been agreed on with the top 5% of wealth, or people who own the top 5% of wealth in this country. Every law that's been passed has been approved by them first. So any law that's not approved by them has never been passed in this country. 0%. I'll have to look that study up. I'm not going to post it in the show notes, but it's there. I think it's Princeton.
I ain't posting nothing in the show notes because
No.
I have an ending for this episode later, and
Okay.
that's all about do your own research.
Do your own research.
I'm not your dad.
We are not your. Yes.
Jay may
correct.
be your father.
I hope not. I don't think so.
You don't know.
Oh, excuse me. But
People
yeah,
stealing your socks.
How much further do we want to go with this? If you guys want to hear more about this,
Let us know.
Yeah, just let us know. Contact.
This is
Daniel
kind of
Woolmer.
yeah. There'll be an email in the link below.
Good.
But
we want your opinions, and all the point of this show is just to get thoughts out there for you to think for yourself. We're not telling you one way or the other. We're just telling you the information we received, the information we researched, and we're just putting it out there. This is what's out there. Sometimes you got to dig for it, but it's there. So think for yourselves and come to your own conclusions on what you think. Fluoride, good or bad? Because have you ever ran to anyone in public that has told you fluoride's good?
no.
I have. I actually have one time. It was a dental assistant. And
I don't think so still. So sorry.
and we were talking about, I forget what we were talking about, and we were talking about teeth for some reason, probably because she's a dental assistant, so that's kind of...
she looks pretty.
It's debatable. And but
Was she older?
No. I mean, what's older? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to get your because there's the type you like, and then there's the type that likes you.
Oh, I get it. No. Okay, so no. It's about around my age, I think.
Okay.
And we were talking about teeth and stuff like that because, naturally dental assistant. I guess this is what they talk about. But we were talking about other country, and like I made a joke, and she said, yeah, that's probably, and she literally said this, yeah, that's because they don't put fluoride in their water. And I was like, what? And like, I didn't even debate, or I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, you need that. That's why their teeth are bad. And I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to touch this. I let it go. But it was brought up in conversation. So it's not like, it's something that's being taught, and I think it's misinformation. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
As we covered.
Yeah.
But it's not even a thought in their mind.
So let's, real quick, to wrap this up.
Yes, because we could keep going and going.
Yes,
and going.
I know. But if you guys want more, we'll do more. Just tell us.
Yeah.
The 3 major conspiracies of why they're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, it's to get rid of a useless byproduct.
Yes.
And get profit for it.
Mm-hmm.
So something they literally, before this, they were throwing into the ocean until they were told they weren't allowed to do it anymore.
And until Oscar Ewing found out a way to profit.
To market it.
Yes.
Number 2, population control. Just overall control, whether it's sleep, cancer, whatever. Then what's number 3? You had another third kind of point, and now I forgot it.
Was it to, I can't remember now, like...
Induce population sickness.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the thought, the conspiracy side is like, it's to dumb down that spiritual side, or to numb that spiritual side of you, like to sever your connection with your spiritual self, your inner self, or
to stop us all becoming psychic vampires.
Free-thinking individuals.
Yes, that's exactly what a psychic vampire would say.
Psychic vampire. What do you think? Like
no,
people
who can put
project
a word
their
out
consciousness.
Maybe
it inhibits that.
It may. I don't think everybody has the ability to do that, but it may greatly reduce the number of people that actually do.
And it is documented that people actually do. Like we said later, we're going to do an MK Ultra.
Not excited for that
episode, but
only reason I'm not is because the research.
They did determine there have been people that have been able to figure things out by remote viewing and stuff like that. So it is possible.
There's that lady that read the panel
Mm-hmm.
in I think like Romania.
Mm-hmm.
She read a panel off of something in Romania.
It's been documented. These things are possible, and I don't think it's possible in everybody, but maybe it could be. It's just a skill maybe you have to learn to unlock, or maybe just certain people are special.
I don't think it's biologically available to everybody anymore.
Yeah. So and where does that come from? I don't know. Is it learned? I don't know. I don't know. World's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a biological bloodline thing? Who knows?
Well, I think that's fair to end on.
Fair. Yeah.
I've been Daniel.
I've been Wilbur.
And we're going to end this with just telling you, do your own research. Don't take anybody's word for any of this, including ours.
Correct.
This is just kind of open your eyes to some possibilities, to other things, to other options for the classic and then the conventional and then the conspiratorial. Because I kind of go both ways sometimes. So do your own research. Read the article. Read the article.
Read the papers.
Read the actual article. Don't read the overview.
And just be open-minded to everything.
Have a wonderful day. Don't trust the government, because I sure as hell don't. Love your family.
Oh, good. That's good.
All right. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.